Right, okay, now we're live, hopefully, and today I'm going to be talking about 2d6 Dungeon, as a lot of people are expecting, but I'm going to be doing a slightly different stream today because they're going to be talking about the rules. So, let me just get my chat up and do a quick sound check. Let me just do this, hang on a minute. Sound check. We've got a black screen in the background here, hang on. Hang on. Let me just change this like this. I don't know why that has gone off there. That's interesting. I don't know why that has gone off there. That's interesting. Just check this is connected. Should be. Sounds like there's a bit of feedback there. One sec, guys. One sec, guys. Hey, Nick. Right. Right. Just bear with me while I figure out why this camera isn't working. Live cam, USB device. Huh. It was working a minute ago. Alright, well, hang on here. This should be plugged in. Let me just check. Oh, technical difficulties. It's bound to happen. The last 4 streams have gone far too smoothly. Did I no, that was plugged in. Aha! Ta-da! And we have some rules. Okay. Right. Bob, good to see you. Christopher, good to see you. Wow, these are all names that have become very familiar to me recently through Facebook. That has been amazing. Yeah, right. So, I have here, so we can talk about it, is the new 0.95 of the core rules there, and the tables codex, which is here, and then I've got the list of updates that I put with the files that you can now download on Facebook, so they are there ready for you guys to get your hands on. Right, let's just catch up a little bit here with some of the comments quickly. And say hello. Right, watching from work, so let's see how much I can watch before I have to run. Okay, good to have you here, Christopher. Bob, thank you. Yeah, got it sorted. Cody, welcome. I saw your post on Facebook. You were going to be live on Monday, so live. So I've managed to stay awake so I can lunch for a while. Lurk for a while. Sorry, I said lunch for a minute. Patrick, good to see you. I think it changed your mic when you plugged in the camera. Okay, thank you. Let me check that. It did. There we go. Thank you. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. That is very useful. That has helped, because that would have been embarrassing if I'd recorded through the webcam mic for the whole video. That really would have been embarrassing. Right. Now, Bob has made a good point here, actually. He has put in there, I hope it hasn't been overwhelming. First, I guess we can talk a little bit about that and how it has affected my life in a really positive way. Okay, I would say that it has been overwhelming in a really positive way. I have been able to keep up with it. So I've been working on the updates and getting those out, but just the sheer quantity of awesome people who have been in and have been giving me points and tips and updates has been higher level than I had ever expected. So whereas before I'd sort of projected, say about a week ago, that I'd have 0.95 ready, it hasn't been that way, because the feedback, Hop UK, welcome my friend. I can't remember what your avatar is. You're probably one of the guys. Minu, welcome my friend, welcome. So it has, and the first thing I'd like to say is I am just so blown away at the support on the Kickstarter. It has been mind-blowing, and I'm so humbled by the support of the community and the awesome folks that I've met through the project so far. So that's the first thing. So we're just stunned at how the Kickstarter's going. For a small indie publisher like us, yes, we had the success with Radzone Totality and a couple of other projects that we've run. But this has been taking it to the next level. And, there's big things ahead. We're going to use this, the money we make from this, to sort of... Brian, excellent. Hi, Brian. We're going to use this to project forward and make this game better, but also it gives us that security to be able to back up the project for the foreseeable year, or for this year and next year. We're going to be adding new content to this game because of the success of this project. It's given it a longevity that we just couldn't sort of say, yeah, that's going to happen. I couldn't say, yeah, we're going to do an expansion, Overland expansion next year, because we weren't sure before whether the project was going to be a success, but now we can. So that's kind of projected it forward. Cody says, congratulations, I backed a couple of days ago, excited to learn more. Excellent. Steve's here. Hello everybody. What did I miss? Anything important? Not really. £222 to the next stretch goal, Nick says, and we've just had someone back for £30. So really awesome stuff, guys. Really, it has been great. And as I say, we are going to do the right thing with this money. We're going to make the game amazing, and we are going to plan a series of updates. With one of the Overland expansion is going to be something that we work on. And just to throw a few little ideas out there for that particular thing is we are I am particularly interested in your adventurer owning land and developing their own kingdom, in a sense. Now this has obviously been thrown around with other games, but I want to be able to do it in a way that's much more kind of like the 2d6 dungeon, in a sense. There's a certain randomness to buying land, people you may encounter when you do that, and expand that out like that, and then maybe have adventures through building a kingdom. This is one of the things that I'm thinking about, but that's way in the future. We want to kind of lay down the basics for the game, get the dungeon sorted, and now for you, the work that I put in this week. 12-hour days to try and get this done. Just because I love doing it. It completely wipes me out. But this here, thanks to you guys, some of the comments that I've been getting have just been so important to where the game goes. And at the same time, it's reaffirming for me, because everybody's suggesting things and chipping things in, but the core mechanic of the game that I've worked on for the last year, since last summer, so it's probably more like 8 months, has stood the test, and we are strong. We are strong together. And because of that foundation, because you guys have contributed, because the community is growing, we're kind of in a position now where there are exciting things ahead. And I'm just really proud of how it's going. So thank you everybody who has contributed and been part of the project so far, because you're with me now, you're on board, and we've got this long journey to go, and we've got this classic on our hands. I think, I know that sounds, I'm boasting a bit when I say it, but I think we have a classic game here, and it's only, it's because of you guys as well. Jonathan, I'll send my feedback soon. I just completed my first dungeon. Excellent. There you go. It's the first dungeon you do. It's like, whoa, suddenly there's this whole world. And then let's go expand. So what I wanted to do today is, I've published the 0.95 rules on Facebook. You can pick those up now. You can download those. I wanted to go through some of these new rules briefly and have a talk about it. Now, I've kind of, I haven't hurried it, but today I feel like, in a sense, I've kind of pushed it out. So I'm cautious that maybe with this current one, we need if there's any kind of obvious errors. I don't think there are, but if there are, because I've kind of pushed it out so we could get it in people's hands today, I wanted to try and make sure. I'm kind of always saying, well, maybe there's one or two things that I've missed. I know that sometimes my use of language is a bit flowery. I'm a creative writer, but that's just the style that I go in for. And sometimes that's a bit evident, but that is just part of how I create. It's like a creative journey for me. Even writing rules, I kind of find it very exciting. I'm imagine myself in the situations, and I'm kind of there doing it. It's going to be classic, but still like Red Zone Totality better. Well, that's fine. You can like the games, you can like that one better, that's fine with me. All I can say is, this is just the base game for this. We've got to add the other levels, you're going to see other domains you can explore. There's going to be stuff going on like that. I mean, it just does depend on your preferred genre, I guess. Peter, hi Peter, how are you doing? Hi, game looks great, simple to understand, but crunchy. Yes, thank you. That is it. I want there to be enough detail in this game that kind of enriches the narrative. I try, whenever I add anything, I'm trying to justify it with a narrative, and I'm trying to kind of bring in a good framework for that narrative to exist. And you can work stories. Nothing thrills me more than when I'm reading on the Facebook page a story about like there was one of our testers. She was talking about her character was a collector of items, and she was listing the items that she was finding in the game, finding that fascinating. So there's that. So that's a little bit of an overview. I wanted to say thank you to Daniel on Dungeon Dive. He's done a great review. I should imagine quite a few of you have seen that already. If you don't follow Dungeon Dive, Daniel is excellent. He is a brain on solo RPG and solo games. And I was get over there and look at what he's doing, because it's fascinating. He's really what I kind of see him as doing. He's giving credibility to the arena that we're all enjoying. He's kind of like, this is a reality. This is a real thing. Solo play isn't just like half an hour here. You can really get involved with it. You can mix games. You can spend hours doing. You can have campaigns. That's what Daniel does. He brings a reality to it, and he's been talking about 2D6 Dungeon and he's just really. I was blown away by his. I keep using that term, blown away, but I spent a lot of my time the last few weeks being blown away. Hey, Daniel equals the GOAT. Thank you, Cody. I think that sums it up very nicely. Haven't started playing. Minu says, haven't started playing, but I've been following the vids and updates. Want to wait until the final product arrives. Combat looks awesome though. Like, how's it not so swingy and random? Exactly. Oh, hi. Who we got there? Average Melon. Welcome. Nice to catch you live. Nice to catch you live as well. Thank you for being here. Yes. Combat. So I've talked probably at length about the combat in some of the other videos, but I always wanted to, having watched a lot of videos about role-play games, played a hell of a lot myself. Nothing worse is when you get bored of combat. So I was looking for mechanisms, and I came up with this mechanism that you use a fatigue die. I know that there are fatigue mechanisms in other systems, but this one I kind of thought, I've never seen this before, and I kind of implemented it. And then I'm looking at how we can bring the physical representation into a series of dice rolls. How could I do that? Well, you know, you can shift, you can move your maneuvers in combat. Now, how could we do that through the dice? And I just came up with this shift mechanism where you can turn numbers up and down, and it has been received really well, which is very exciting. Bob, agree that the core is very good. We are just offering tweaks and clarifications. Yes, and I welcome it all, Bob. If you're at the Facebook page and you're thinking, oh God, am I sending too many messages today? Do not worry about that. I am super sensible when it comes to taking people's comments. I do not view them as criticism. And I can always tell a troll. You know, I've been online a lot. I've spent a lot of time in online communities and through lots of things, including online gaming, which I've done extensively over the years as well. So we have Scott is here. Ithacus Bane. Welcome, Scott. Good to see you, my friend. See, one of the funny things is I look down at the chat and I'm like, I see a name and I'm usually having to translate it through another avatar. So if I'm hesitating, that is because I'm looking at it and thinking, who's that, Scott? Yeah, that's Scott. That's Scott. But yeah, so Scott's here. Scott's a big member of the community as well, folks. If you know, go and check out his channel. You see his name there? It's Ithacus Bane. I might have said that right or wrong. I don't know. But go and check out his channel as well. The thing I'd say about Scott, I don't mean to embarrass you here, is he is a really nice, enthusiastic guy, and he kind of just when he talks about games, you can just hear he's excited, and that's what we want. You know, we want to be inspired, and you'll get that over at his channel. So I recommend go and check it out. Let me just slightly off the point there. Yeah, I mean, Scott says agreed. Narrative is king. Sorry, not Scott. Steve says narrative is king. 2d6 has the right balance between detail and playability. I don't have too many small rules to remember. It's simply enough to learn, but detailed enough to be exciting. Well, that is highest compliment there. Thank you, Steve. I do appreciate that. You've been very supportive. I appreciate everybody's support here. It's just been absolutely brilliant. And it's nice to see as well other people making friends within the group. You know, we've all got a bit of a joke about Scott's bad luck on his dice rolls. I mean, that definitely comes into the equation. Right, so enough gushing. I could keep on gushing. Yeah, excited playing games till the dice start rolling. Many thanks for the words. I'm gonna make you blush. Good. So the question is, why has it taken me so long to get things sorted on this current 0.95. I wanted to explain myself and talk a bit about why it has taken that time. We had a series of updates quite quickly, and I said that I'd have another update pretty quickly on, but then I soon realised that 0.95 was going to be probably the biggest update that we were going to have and really cement that foundation. Fingers crossed. This is what I hope. I have the two rule books here for those of you who've just come in. So I've printed out the tables book, and I wanted to talk through that. And then we've got the rules here as well. I printed them out A5 this time. Before I had them on A4 and I was turning over the pages, and it was a bit awkward. This is the reason why I'm a bit late to the stream today, because printing these actually took much longer than I thought it was going to, which was a right pain. So what I'll do is I'll talk through the changes, talk about this book here, and then from that, if anybody's got any questions, I will be more than happy to sort of try and answer them as best I can. You know, I'll be as honest as I'm capable of being. So we have 0.95. So there's basically, I'll stop when I see something that will kind of, and some of this is going to be a bit crunchy, a bit nerdy, and some of you will have to have played the game to understand a lot of what's coming here. But I'll try and gloss over the bits which are just by the by. So subterranean section added the line. So this is about adding lines. So this, I'll skip past just the kind of the changing the letters. Starting scrolls table changed melt metal scroll description to destroys one lock or armor related interrupt on enemy. So before I had melt metal would destroy one piece of armor. That wasn't exactly clear because the enemies don't necessarily have armor. They have interrupts. So any interrupt that is armor related. So these aren't the new cards actually. There are some changes. We won't spend too long on. There we go. Let's bring out the veteran here. So you can see his armor deflection on secondary 5s and 6s. So that armor deflection, that piece of armor would be melted if you used the melt scroll. I wanted to make that clear. Let me just added subheader leveling up. So in the core rules, we have a new subheader called leveling up here, which makes it clearer for those that wanted to understand more about how you go to the next level. Added not worn to reference to armor being larger item to clarify that armor isn't worn is considered a large item. So any large item you're carrying, if you've got a bit of armor you're not wearing, haven't got it on your list, maybe it's a duplicate or you've got 3 pieces of armor already, that piece of armor is considered to be a large item. Do not do this for the entrance room. So here's another little twist. So when you're rolling your entrance rooms, if you roll a double on the entrance room, you do not roll again. Entrance rooms are just one roll. So I was thinking about it. I didn't want the entrance rooms to be big when you first go into the dungeon. I think that's important. So that has been added in. So remove from small rooms. So someone pointed out to me, someone really smart. I said rooms for small rooms in the game. I said rooms smaller than 6 squares or smaller. And someone pointed out to me, actually, you can only roll 2 combinations of the die to get that. So I've shifted it. So a room that has an area of 3 to 6 squares, other than a double 2 and corridors, and replaced it with, if you roll a 3 and 2 or 2 and 3, the room is a small room. So it was a kind of like a. But basically, if you can get a small corridor, or you get a double and then you roll again. So it's only a 3 and a 2 or 2 and a 3 for small rooms. So I've changed that in the rules there. I restructured 0.7 completely. So if we go to 0.7, oh look, that's it. Ah, look, I've spotted a mistake already. It's so typical, isn't it? That's spacing here. I've got spacing here. Is this light enough? Can we see this? Is that better there? Okay, so now you have a room. Establishing the number of exits is the next step. You have to come in through the entrance. Now you need a way out. Roll die. So I've completely redone this space there. Now, a lot of these narrative can't make up for poor gameplay. I'm glad it's not an issue here. Thanks, Bob. Yeah. Well, narrative has driven the gameplay for this one. So, but you know, I've applied the kind of narrative, the kind of physics to the rule design. So we've got a subheader for corridors to highlight a bit more about how corridors work within the text. A lot of these are, Brett has pointed out, quite a lot of these little structure things within the sentences, which is really handy. All exits from a large room are wooden doors has been removed, and we'll talk about that when we get to the tables codex, because there are some new tables and some changes in how the tables codex has been arranged. Let's move down here. We're getting through this pretty quickly. Corridors do not have encounter rolls either, and are not considered to be small rooms. I had to clarify certain points that are going into the book. So corridors do not have encounters, but we know that already, but that's just clarity. With usually at least 75% of the dungeon area covered. So we were looking at how do we define a finished dungeon. And I've added in a section here about 75% of the dungeon area covered within your outer boundary with rooms and corridors. It's a kind of like a rough guide. It says usually at least. So it's not a has to be, but 75% of the dungeon floor covered, which does throw up questions, but that is a bit of a guide. So we'll see how that incorporates into the rules. Added, some locks have a number next and modifier is applied to the lock quality roll. So this was a question that came up. So if you're reading a description and it says a lock and it's got a number next to it, you apply that to the roll you make to open that lock. Okay, so some are crappy locks and some are better locks. So you get pluses and minuses to the quality of that lock, which again increases the possibility of opening some of these locks, which I was aware that maybe that was a problem, that people didn't have lock picks, they're encountering locks and not able to open anything. So, or if they did, the chances were harder. So now some locks are easier to open. Bjorn, rule of imagination. If you come up at rule that is contradictory or not fleshed out, imagine the most creative way to resolve it. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to spin that on the head a little bit. Bojan. Sorry if I'm absolutely hammering your name. So start from that creative, imaginative space to begin with, and then maybe come back to it when you realise that the rule maybe is contradictory. So your imagination contradicts imagination, kind of work yourself out of it. That's where I'm at when I'm creating rules. It's the imagination and that kind of the physicality of it that you would imagine yourself in that position. So we've got this check is for one door when you're trying to open. So checking doors. So when you're going through from one room to another and you've got to check a door to see if it's locked, you're just checking that single door. Someone inquired whether that meant that when you check that door, it meant that all the doors were the same, but they're not. Favour points to offerings. Change something. Gaining favour with gods to offerings to the gods. So I've just to make this a little bit. Kasek, hello. How are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. So we have got here locked doors. What was it? Locked doors we were looking at there. Favour of the gods, page 19. Offerings to the gods. this was something that people have asked me quite a lot about. So it's explaining how the gods are, how you can make offerings and where you can make offerings, and that's confused a few people because it's a bit of a weird mechanism. But I've tried to add some clarity by changing the header for that, and I've done some stuff with the tables, which will hopefully help with that situation as well. What do we got here? Rations do not count as large items. I've put that in there. You cannot flee from combat. Somebody else wanted that clarified. You can't flee from combat at the moment. I just think that it adds that jeopardy to the game that is quite riveting. So you go into a combat. If you don't make the right decisions in the first place, and even if you do, you still might die. It's from that respect, you could say that is fairly brutal, but I think it makes it exciting. There is peril with this game. You do not have to use all your shift points. Again, someone else asked that. I've had a couple of people ask that. You do not have to use all your shift points. I mean, the rule of exact strike, for example, kind of explains that anyway, but it doesn't really matter. That is just to be clarified. Remove a line from mishap and prime. This is one attack. Yeah, so when an enemy does a mishap or a prime attack, they only do that one attack, and I've added in a line just to clarify that. So it would be so they roll double 6, do the prime, and then you look at it and you think, oh, I could shift that to a 5/6, which might be one of their attacks. You can't do that. That isn't. I've added in a line to clarify it. Added when fighting multiple creatures to the fearful momentum section. We'll talk about the fearful momentum because that is a new rule in a minute as well. What have we got up here? Move treasure and experience sections. So I have moved. How do you determine door type on the large rooms now? Ha ha ha, Bob. Yes, we will come to that in a minute, my friend. We'll go to the tables, but it's baked into the tables now. So, and in fact, the larger rooms have got a bit more kind of clarity. So we had, let's just go over this just so you can see. Page 28. We used to have on page 28 the treasure and experience section, but that has now been moved to the end of the combat section, which made much more sense to do that. Sounds like the tables changed. Yes, that is the tables is what I've been spending all the last 2 weeks doing. Oh my word, getting that done and thinking about how I'm going to do level 2 and level 3 and level 4, because I've written a lot of level 2. I had hoped to do it this evening, but yes, they do. I might have missed it. Do God favour points get used up when rolling for a favour? Yes, they do. That is a really good point. I'm pretty sure I've got a line in there, but I will just make a note of that. Just to check. Where's one of my little pads? Hang on. That is a really good point. Right. So, just check. Does it say favour points used up? That's sort of really insightful comment that I need, because it makes me think, have I added that in? So I'm pretty sure I have. You do, basically. You rub them off. I have an idea for the manoeuvre section. Example that I will need to type up on Facebook later. Love the page 22 updates for the exact strike. Excellent. Page 22. Yes, the exact strike. I had to just make sure. This demonstrates your prowess. So roll 2d6, compare the numbers to your manoeuvres. If the 2 dice match a manoeuvre, then you performed it and hit the creature. This is known as exact strike. So We're coming to the... let me just see. Did I say that bit? Well, that is... Here we go. Update paragraph 22. I didn't go over it. This is a big thing to point out because it is amazing. You know, you can write these things and then you read it and then someone else reads it and they see something completely different. And I had a couple of really honest people say to me that they kind of picked up the wrong idea about how the combat role worked. And I'm just so relieved that people said that, because then I read it back and said, oh my word, obviously that can be misconstrued to be like any one of those dice could match. Really, it has to be both dice matching. So I spent some time composing that. With these updates, eventually come to the yes, they are. The thing is, they will be, for sure, Bjorn, because what happens is I've uploaded those at the same time as I've done Facebook, but they take a day or two just to confirm it. So there's like an admin process that all files uploaded to Board Game Geek have to go through. It's not the same on the Facebook page, so you can just grab those straight away. So they will be there very soon. In the coming from single 0.2 playtest last night to discover the game yesterday. I'm coming from... okay. Welcome, Barshies. Thank you for your comment as well before about the XP, about the favour points used up there. Brilliant. So some clarity. If anybody's got like questions like that, just throw them at me. And just to finish this off, and then we'll go over the rule changes, which is probably the most important bit. So we've got move liberating prisoners to page 30. So we had before it was within the book, but it's something you do after. So this is when you leave the dungeon. There's a section here. The liberating prisoners table has gone into that section. Add estimate random loot based on miscellaneous items table. Now, I've had a few queries about the market section at the end of the book, and they're largely saying, in a sense, can we expand it out, offering more options? And there will be. I mean, I probably will ultimately create a longer list of items that are valued, but for the moment there's a small miscellaneous table where you can look at, and it's got some sort of general items, and you can judge for yourself the price of an object that you're selling at the market at the end. But that whole section is likely to increase, so there's more interaction outside. And then again, as I was saying earlier on, the overland encounters that are no doubt going to be coming, they will be implemented as part of that kind of out of the dungeon experience. So that's coming. The updated large room table does not specify door types. Oh my god, have I missed it off? I could have sworn I put it on there. Right, so we'll go through the... right. Level 1, large door... Here we go. Level 1, large rooms, 29. Oh. It doesn't. Oh, well, there you go. It's meant to. It's meant to. I thought I put it in. You know what? I did. It's gonna. Okay. Large rooms. And I've done the small tables first. And then I've, for some reason, haven't added the column, because small rooms the door rooms are all archways, but The large rooms need their own column. Okay, there you go. First error. Large rooms, door types. Well, they will have door types. Okay. Oh dear. So you're like my test. You're my test group. So it's good to have you do that. I will put that in. I'll do that. That'll be done tomorrow probably. Hi, I finished my first level but only have 60 some X points. If I'm only supposed to go through each level once, is it just a balancing act on how big to make the dungeon versus keeping it small enough? Johnny, hi. Well, that's pretty unusual, 60 points, to be honest. If you did a 20 by 20, that's the smallest setting. You will likely pick up the required experience points when you go down the level pretty quickly, but you may well face death, unfortunately. I hate to tell you this. So I will add door types to that. Well spotted, Bob. You do need to add a TOC for each section's page numbers. TOC. What do you mean? I can't look at abbreviations and understand them sometimes. I did 20 by 20 in my first test and hit 250. Table of contents. I forgot to add some after an encounter. But that's very likely. I don't think I've got. Steve says, I don't think I've got less than 100 on level. You must not have had many fights. Yeah, I think that's probably right. My first completed 2020, I got 71 XP. Yeah, there you go. I think with the 2020, that's like the minimum. And so you're going to be the lowest end of the spectrum when it comes to XP. But if you're near 100 and it's level 1, that's not bad. You know, that's kind of like you're going to have some less and some more. I think that probably shows that that's probably near enough the right level. Yes, there is a table of contents at the end. The index is at the end. Thank you, Steve. It is. So I moved the table of contents from the beginning to the end. Largely because I felt that it's probably easier to access the end of the book just by flipping to the last page. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is how you use a book like this. Picking those first few pages, I think, can sometimes be difficult. You know, if you're just at the end of a book and you flick to the index, I think it's kind of like, it's easier. Corridor orientation must be short side, dice with value 1, respect the dice it came out on. 1 respect, i.e. a roll of 1 primary, 6 secondary means a corridor that only goes north, south, or can you pick? No, you have to follow the XY axis. So if I roll a 1 and a 3, so you got 1 on your horizontal and then 3 on your vertical. Okay. So if you did 3, 5 and then 1, you could go 5 along and then 1 up. Does that make sense? Excellent. So it naturally means some corridors go up, some corridors go to the side. You know, that's kind of how it is. And you can place them left or right. You know, so the 5 can go left or the 5 can go right. Pretty much it. I was just referring to finding the page number of each section that I would look for at the front. Yes. You know, I haven't ruled it out of having it at the front as well. So it may be that we have it both ends for functionality. You know, but I put it in before at the front of the book, and no one's ever commented that it was there, or even knew it was there, or the function of it. So I thought maybe people are missing it because people were going through the book and say, I can't find the tables, and then I'd in my stream look in the front and pick it out, but then not many people reference that, so I wonder whether it had kind of been overlooked a little bit, potentially. Maybe use the back cover as the index table of contents. Yeah, well, you know, when you print these books, it's difficult to actually have it in the back cover if you're doing a hardback, say for example, because they often want the back pages to be blank because that's where how they bind the books. It's just something that I've learnt over the last few years. I think you have to pay a huge amount extra to have that back page, a special paper within the back cover. There are little things like that which are a bit of a pain. I mean, we could overcome that. Clive, good to see you. I missed your comments on page 13, small rooms, and I see that you've changed it to just roll 3-2 and 2-3. However, could you also have a small room at 2-2, 4 squares, if you rolled 2 double ones? No, because you roll again. If you get 2 snake eyes, yeah. I guess that is a good point. 2 snake eyes. But, yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought about that. But that's why I've got you guys. You help me, but you point these things out for me. The first double one would be re-rolled, and if there's another double one, you would also just add those figures to the original roll, making 2-2. Yes, Clive. Yep. Clive gets the first brownie point. Well done. 2 snake eyes. Okay, so good. This is perfect. This is exactly. No, I didn't think I had it nailed, Steve. I knew that you guys. You're so smart. You guys. You're like. You will see. But this is what I need. I need people to sort of hone in on these little details so that it's foolproof. Right, so that's not so bad so far. That's good. I'm happy. Okay, the column, that's a cock up. Not putting the doors on the large. I was gonna flip to that confidently in the book and say, look, and the doors for the large rooms are anyway. Right, let's try and wrap the rules bit up. Okay. Okay, so I've slightly changed. So I added into, just while we finish off the rules, page 32, you can only arm wrestle once. Some people that wasn't clear. They thought they'd be able to make lots of money. Oh, Steve, stop it. Trolling me like that. No. This is the work. This is it. This is all of this stuff. All of this stuff is ready now. Just those few little things. So I'm pushing on with level 2 tables. So don't think I'm bogging myself down with all this again. Now that this is done, that is the hard work done, and I can move on. And level 2 is, over 50% of the stuff for level 2 is done. So, good call. Okay, page 33 from Brian. Sleeves needs to be done. Okay, sleeves. Good call. Nice. Okay. You can only arm wrestle once. Yes, so that's important. That's there. And a few other little things. Oh, yes. When you're at the tavern, it's temporary hit points above your baseline. I've put in a word there. Temporary hit points. Okay, so rule changes. The XP for making herbal remedies has gone up from 2 to 5, and fixing things has gone up from 2 to 10. So what I'm trying to do with that is drive people to think about that side of the game a bit more, and maybe give more reward for fixing things. That the inventive usage, as I call it. So we've got there's a higher reward for that. So as our friend was saying here, He'd had 72 points. How many? We had, how many, what was it, 60 or something experience. If you'd had some kit in your backpack and you wanted to fix something, or that could have been maybe a way of upping your experience points for your character. There's a possibility there. And so page 28. This is probably one of the biggest changes. So removed. Remove one tick from every room you enter until you have none, which indicates you are well again. So taken out of the bloodied and soaked. Now, if you're bloodied or soaked, if you clean yourself or dry yourself, you simply remove all the ticks from that chart, from the counter. So there's no one per room. I just felt on reflection that was very much about a bit of micromanagement we didn't need in the game. Something that you'd forget to do, and you'd be like, "Did I take one off? Did I not?" And you don't really need that. That was a bit of a distraction. I still like the bloodied and the soaked rule. I think that is once as a player, once you kind of nail down the play, that adds another element to the game. It makes you think about your decisions, and it imagines your character being a condition. I want you to imagine your character's condition, and so which increases the role play. And so that is why I've left that in. I still like that rule. Bob says he likes to change to soaked. Good. Good rule change to soaked and bloodied. Thank you, Steve. Bjorn says, are there shower room where you can remove the condition just by passing through it? Yes. So this is outlined. This is outlined in the rules. If you go to a room where there's a basin, it won't say in the description of the room, you can wash the blood off your hands here, because you may not have blood on your hands. But also you have to be kind of aware of the contents of that room, and you'll be like, oh look, I've got 4 ticks on the bloodied chart because I had to cut up an animal to remove its heart to sacrifice to one of the gods. Your bloodied hands, in the rules it explains, if you do that, you can get ill. But if there's a fountain there, you can automatically wash yourself. There's nothing that's going to say you have to do it. You can. It's inventive usage. It's the role playing aspect of the game. Lol, I think. Oh, what? Yeah, maybe. There may well. I don't know whether they're. Yeah. There may be other forms of shower. You just wait and see. Leave that to imagination. Okay, so that is like probably the main thing for those. So you can read those yourself if you want to look at it in more detail. We've got. It's largely very similar. The rules are kind of they're standing up to the tests thrown at them. A few tweaks here and there, so really pleased with how that has gone down. And we added in fearful momentum. If I hadn't mentioned this before, like fearful momentum, if you kill a creature in the first round of combat, oh look, there's a space there, look. Space. So you can tell I've been tweaking this. Round of combat, when fighting multiple creatures, you gain momentum that strikes fear into your next opponent. For round 2 only, because this has only happened in the first round. For the next round, +2 shift as the enemy next cowers, and you are taken by a wild sudden fury. I'm going to move that across there. So there's just a couple of fearful momentum. that doesn't affect how we understand that particular paragraph. That will be a small tweak for the future. Yeah. So pleased. And we've got the contents at the front. I've added in the new subheaders into the contents page, so that's all very nice. I used this rule. It helped me win against 3 foes. Excellent. That is exactly what I want to hear. Okay, so the changes that you're going to feel most about the game have happened in the tables. So, so this again is as a result of a lot of feedback, and I mean, I'll talk about some of the ideas that we had. I mean, people are throwing stuff out at me at the Facebook group, which is great, but some people are redesigning stuff, and I feel a bit embarrassed that I don't take those on necessarily. There's a number of reasons why I can't just shift the design of, say, tables or the cards. It's partly to do with time, yes. Now, that shouldn't just be the reason alone. But the theme for the tables is very much just kind of straightforward reading of the table, if you like. So they're kind of laid out just to be read. But the reading was important. So all descriptive text from now on is in lowercase. Okay, Jan. Hi Toby, first time here and also learning still basic of the game, hopefully to master at the end. But I loved it in first sight when I saw it on Kickstarter and cannot wait to have it in my hands. That's you and me, Jan. I cannot wait to have that final game in my hands. I'm so excited. Recon certain veterans or other enemies of that level of skill may not thematically be affected by the fearful momentum rule, though, by the way. I don't quite know what you mean by that, Scott. If they're not, then, you know, it could be anybody. You're in your powerful adventure, thrusting your power upon these creatures. I like the readability change in the tables. Thank you, Bob. But I have a question, Jan says. Is there an option to have a only HB codex? Because I pledged the leather edition and it's really hard to always switch pages if possible. To have just the codex as the add-on. I need to think about that one, to be honest. It would need to be an add-on as a codex, but I'll have a think. Jan. You can always pick up the paperback as an add-on and you get the codex in that with the main rules. So they're both paperback. So that's fine. Don't worry. I'm kind of translating any kind of minor grammatical things as I read. Scott, explain what you mean. Thematically. Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice idea. That could be put in their interrupt, not affected by fearful momentum. Because actually, now that you say it, if as we move down the levels, you're going to be facing tougher creatures that aren't necessarily going to be affected by your presence, even no matter how magnificent you may appear in a moment. So it may be that we add it in the interrupt section and say not affected by fearful momentum. Could be that. Could be. Or maybe an icon. On the card itself. Good call. I like your thinking, and that is very thematic. So yeah, let's go over the tables. We have yes, he could be taken aback by it, and Steve comes in with his tongue in cheek again, I fear. Could be taken aback and admire your weapon skill, causing them to hesitate. Or maybe that was an entirely serious comment. Who knows? Okay, I mean, you could do, but I think as creatures become more powerful, they would probably be immune to fearful momentum. So, well, yeah, that's a good point. Think about how I can implement that. That would be in the next update if that's the case. Yeah, we'll see. That sounds good. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so some main changes here. We've got all the descriptive text is in lowercase for scanning. The headers are in capital letters still. Personally, having tested it and looked at it, the capital letters, because I had a couple of feedback from people quoting Harvard and all sorts of things about how blocks of capitalized text is difficult to read. And, I looked at it and I thought, you dumbass. Of course it is. I looked at it and I thought, what am I doing? So one of the biggest jobs was transferring everything into lowercase. And I have had lots of tips about how to use the functionality of Word and all sorts of programs, which is fine. And I've managed to paste and copy and reduce down to sentence text and all that sort of thing. So a lot of it has been changed. But of course, as I've been doing that, I've been thinking, by reducing it down to lowercase, I get more space in the box to add some description. That doesn't mean I've gone overboard by any means, but it means that I have been able to clarify certain sentences that potentially may have been slightly confusing. So I have gone through and gone over some of the text, and that's taken quite a bit of time. But this is the base, these are the core tables, so getting that right is so important. So we have, so we've got all the descriptive text is in lowercase, and the headers, the titles are in capitals, and when a character, an enemy appears in the text, they are in uppercase, so they are more visible, if you like. Your eye is drawn to that. So Steve says, it was worth it. Tables are much better, easier to read. Good. Thank you, Steve. Acting as an editor here, when using e.g. the proper usage is typically modified. Yes. Dot, comma, yes. -1 becomes -4, though you could save a lot of typing of those examples by adding bottom notes row. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that is definitely... I think that you're right about the dot, comma. I think dot, comma is fine if you're looking straight on grammatical, but I think a lot of people aren't really bothered about the dot, comma. I think it's part of the evolution or the denigration of the English language. But you're right. E.g., I'll put it in there. That'll be one to put in with when I do a major work on that. Chaos Lord shouldn't be phased when a grunt gets bat. Yes, I agree. So you're right. There is a certain... But if, for example, you do the fearful momentum and you kill the Chaos Lord's fellow Chaos Lord in front of them, then they may hesitate. So it's definitely worth thinking on this one. It depends. They're not necessarily going to be fighting with a grunt at the lower levels. So that might be something else to consider as well. It may be that two powerful creatures you're fighting, and if one dies straight away, that could cause hesitation in the most capable fighters. I'm going to think about that one, Scott. I really do like it, though. I like your thinking. It adds a bit of theme to it. It's good. I'm looking at where you have modified. Yes. Okay. I'll have a look in. I'll have a look into that, Bob. You are definitely very hot on these things. I love it. Yes. Notes at bottom. For example. That's a good point. Right. Maybe the Chaos Lord gets blood splattered in their face, causing a slight hesitation. This is a really interesting. You've really brought up a good discussion here, Scott. I like it. Okay. Well, that's fascinating. That is fascinating. I'm gonna wake up in a sweat tonight in my bed to sit bolt upright and scream something like "Fearful momentum." Okay, so let's go through these tables because there's a lot changed. So there are the pink section at the top is more kind of gives you a bit more description about what's going on, and I've incorporated that a bit more in some of these tables. So Bane, ooh, you're dark. What's he? Yeah. Most likely cause the hesitation would be him laughing at the execution. It does bring up all sorts of comical but very serious situations. If you're fighting someone and the person next to you gets their head lopped off, that could be pretty terrifying. Maybe not. Let me just reach across here. A bit more light there. Right. Okay, so we also got some more yellow background. Now, you might not necessarily see it on there so much on the screen, but at the bottom of the page, and this will lap over the edge of the page, there is now a colour that corresponds to the type of table. If we go back to the beginning, there are 3 types of table. So there's generic tables that can apply to every level and serve as general reference. They're yellow. So that's going to be stuff like potion lists and items lists, portcullis, recover from unconsciousness, stolen items, starting armor, starting stuff, value of stuff. That's your generic tables. Your random lists, and you'll get used to these sections. Random lists random selections of items that will be accessed throughout the game. Okay, that is your green section here. Now, I have condensed these tables down to a smaller size so we can fit more on one page. Because before we're flicking through more pages, there's less flicking of those particular random item pages now. Ah, thanks, Cody. I like the minimalist aesthetic of these tables. Super clean. Thanks. That's a nice change with the color coding. Cool. Thanks, Bob. Not good for colorblind readers. Well, actually, I've tried to go with tones. So that's a very light tone, the yellow. And that's a bit darker, that one. And then the pink and the blue, they're similar tones. But there's kind of like a dark and a light so it's not entirely terrible. I was thinking about putting a pattern on it, but I experimented around with that and it just looked messy. So I still haven't. That may come. The pattern may come to help with the colour blindness. But at the moment, there is a tonal difference on some of these, so that can help a bit. Because colourblind people do seek tones. They don't see colours, but they'll. So I need to look into those patterns again. I did experiment, but you can only experiment for so long before you want to get this version out. So so I've condensed those tables down with the green, and a lot of the table names have been changed. Okay, so and shortened. So I've taken out the random word I used on a lot of them because it was just repetitive and unnecessary, because they were just lists, so you knew that it was going to be random. So I've taken those out, and I have made them shorter. At the beginning of each section, there is a list of the tables that go into that particular group. And we just had a new backer. Scott has pledged £61. I don't think that's our Scott, but that's awesome. There's lots. We've had a fair few Scots already. The more Scots, the better. And Irish and English. Right. So Sorry, that's a terrible joke. Right. So I've shortened them down. I've made them a bit more kind of understandable. So the key word is the first letter. So armor, the random armor table. So it's ART4, say for armor random table 4. So I've kind of added a hyphen in between these words. So it kind of makes it so you can kind of understand it a bit better when you look at the abbreviation in the text, as it might indicate armor, or it might indicate metal, it might indicate herbs. Nick has put down there £183 till 40k. Yes, how exciting! Yeah, we've got. So let's go through this. I want to go through all the tables because we'll do it fairly quickly. So we've got Enchanted Armor table has been expanded out substantially. I'm going to work this. This is going to become a bigger thing for when you go up levels. So your armor can be enchanted, and there are going to be ways that can happen more readily in game. I think it's going to be a fun thing to have. So, for example, you can get all different types: fire touched, ice touched, divine armor, fabled armor, blazon armor, gilded armor, primordial resistance, faculty resistance, metamorph resistance, psychic resistance, and blessed armor. A single piece of armor gains that quality or that label, and it affects your character, so you can become resistant to metamorphic magic, for example, or divine armor. You get increase your damage modifier by 3 for that piece of armor. So you can imagine at lower levels you are going to then people aren't going to touch you, but that's how you become when you become deeper into the dungeon, become really powerful. So we want that kind of element to it. Bob has a question. Still question why you have random at all. Other tables on the page are random too, but doesn't have the word. Yeah. Because they were individual. And well, I'll come to that in a minute, Bob. Because you've got the armor table here, you see. So if I called it armor table 1, it would clash with this armor table. And the same goes for the scrolls and the potions. So I put the random in to give it some separation from the magic scrolls and the potion list and the armored list that are other tables. So I didn't, because they're clash. And I suspect we'll have other tables that look at potions. For example, we've got one of the stretch goals on the Kickstarter is okay, yes, that makes some sense. That's high praise. Thank you, Bob. That's the reason why I did that. Because as I was labeling the tables, I suddenly thought to myself, "Oh, people could read that as the armor table when it's not the armor." You get what I mean? Next, I was excited to get poison for my blade. Not an enchantment, but exciting all the same. Exactly. That's what I want, those little vibes to happen. And so the enchanted armor table has grown, and you're going to have more ways of getting enchanted armor as we go deeper into the dungeon. And also, incidentally, I just want to say as well, I wanted to increase the importance of orbits for magic. So you got different types of magic orbits, and people are going to gain more resistance or power in certain orbits for certain magics. And you can imagine a warrior who's more resistant to, say, psychic magic through things that we can implement in the tables. Okay, I have fleshed out the fail to cast table is pretty much the same. The gem combination table has been fleshed out. We've got more in there, which is exciting. So, and I've also added in some of the descriptions some more chances to find objects where you can place gems and see whether there's a magical effect. So that was something I wanted to bring into the game a bit more. Magical items haven't changed a bit. I did up the values of some of these, and I haven't had to deal too much with that because level 1 you don't really come into magic items that much. I didn't want a situation where you get an amulet of fire resistance, headband of taming, and the wand of lightning all on the first level. No, the chances are that I think there's gloves of knocking and there's explosive marbles that are available on level 1. But so we'll get more of that will become available. Magic potions, again, up the prices. So because I had someone make a really valid comment that if you got a lot of gold, you could just go back and buy yourself 5 health potions, and then that will really push you through the level. Now, you can obviously only have 5 potions, but that would still be a bit OP. So I thought, how can I make that a bit more difficult? I'll up the cost of the potions. So they've all gone up by a little bit, so it makes it harder to buy them. So we'll see whether that works. And guys, you can let me know. That's one thing that would be really nice to know with your next games, and you testers will get level 2 very soon. Because in fact, the solid group of testers that we've got, who are sending me valid feedback, rather than just testing, which is brilliant if you can just test it. But if you're actually sending me feedback, I will be sending you level 2, and we want to know little things about like how the magic. How is it working, and what were we talking about before? I completely got off my train of thought there. That's what I do sometimes. Oh yes, the cost of potions, whether that has an effect, and whether you are saving yourself time and time again through drinking healing potions, which it shouldn't necessarily be the way, but it might be. Magic scrolls, again, have increased the value of some of the magic scrolls. That might be a mistake, Scott. Let's have a look. Extra healing is 23, and a healing potion is 26. Good spot. I thought I had updated that one. Thank you. That is obviously an error. Good spot. Good spot. So I will correct that. Get them while they're cheap. Right. In fact, I don't think buying potions in town, is that possible? Buying potions. Got to think about that. Okay. Right, so magic scrolls increase some of the value. Right, portcullis lever fleshed out a little bit. These are all in the generic tables. Recover from unconsciousness table. I've also fleshed that out a little bit and changed it. So I basically added in some god-related stuff here. I believe, yes. Favour of the gods. Gain 2 favour points for a god. Roll on the god table. You wake up with 5 HP. So God blesses you even though you're nearly dead. James, hi all. I don't think I can really participate at this time of day, but I think I can at least listen. James, pleasure to have you on board, my friend. A big contributor to comments. Thank you for that. I love them all. Buying potions in town does make sense since you're given one as a new character by someone from town. Narrative true, but that might just be some old fuddy guy, or some old guy who doesn't have a shop, maybe. It does make sense, but you might not be able to buy the most powerful potions from town. I might look at that in an update. We'll keep it as it is for the moment, but it may be that in an update your town only has certain potions available to buy. It could be that there's a role that you could roll a die, and and it could be a D66 or a D12, and it will show you which ones are available to buy in town on that occasion. Because, supply and demand, you may not necessarily have them. Times are tough. Maybe it's from a travelling apothecary. Good point. Scrolls aren't available. I don't think they are, anyway. Maybe they are. Maybe I did put that in. This is a good point. See, this is actually a good point, because this is the sort of thing where if you get a lot of gold to spend at higher levels, then you'd be thinking about buying some big scrolls, wouldn't you? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it will be a rule. So maybe you can buy them all at the moment. Maybe it'll be a rule for later levels, or maybe an optional rule to make the game harder, that only certain scrolls are available. You roll for random what's available at the visiting travelling apothecary. Or limit the number of potions available in town. Yes. That's basically what we're saying, isn't it, really? To sort of kind of offer some kind of limit through a thematical means. Say, as Nick says, travelling apothecary. I'm going to write that down. Good call. Travelling apothecary. Excellent. All right. So we're moving on to more still on generic. So we've got stolen item table. Jonathan comes in with, maybe some town locations are just closed. If potion shop is open and you have the gold, it's all fair. Yeah, maybe. Even things like armour could be limited availability, like the random table roll idea. Good point. Oh, I like the sound of this. It could be like an optional thing. You didn't necessarily have to, because I know that people might get a bit frustrated if they get back to town and they're like, I want to buy a nice piece of armour, but there's only leather goods available, say, for example. That would be gutting, wouldn't it? You wouldn't want to disappoint people like that. What do you think? I think that's a difficult one. Okay, stolen item table, that's been expanded out a little bit. Yeah, that's very true. Even level-based purchasing, Nick says, is common in video games. That's true. That is true. And people would be used to that, having said that, wouldn't they? Maybe. The game isn't hard enough. Isn't hard enough without restricting availability of items? ? James. There you go. There's the first person to sort of give any kind of like doubt about whether we should be restricting items, because the game is. You see, I think at the moment it's quite a good balance. But what it might do, if there's only certain potions available, we may have to buy those and use those and think of other ways of making those work, potentially. 5 Leagues from the Borderlands has common items always available, but rare objects you have to roll to see what is in stock. Yeah, exactly. It sounds like a really good kind of standard mechanic, doesn't it? Roll for availability. You know, it's probably in lots of games. As an optional rule, sure, but I don't know if I'd want it as part of the core rules. I hear what you're saying, James. I'm kind of, I'm thinking that there is the option to make the game harder. There's a couple of rules already, and that would sit nicely in there. But I do think that maybe some of these items are so expensive, you're not going to be able to buy them at that stage anyway, are you? So there may be some monitoring, if you like, whereby where you can't afford to buy them anyway at lower levels because of the cost. So maybe that might be enough of a measurement. We'll see. And maybe I'll implement the rule, and we'll get a couple of you to test it out and see what you think. Right, starting armor, starting scroll table, values of gems table, and values of miscellaneous items table. So, just a point: if if a table says table 1, it's usually because I'm thinking in my head I might have a table 2. So starting armor table 1. I may introduce a version where the starting armor table, we could have another version of it where you've got better ones available, which is why they're table 1. So there's always a chance of there being a table 2. Now, for some that may sound slightly crazy. I'm just trying to I'm trying to almost double guess myself, think ahead. So we've got, and I had to make some changes to some of these tables. And interestingly, I've got the values of miscellaneous items table down here. This at the bottom is going to be a decision. This is going to be your gauge, if you like. If you've got something to sell in town, as it says in the market section in the rules, and you need to be able to estimate its value, you do it based upon this table. Now that table may increase. Another side note, sorting these tables out is a pain in the arse, okay, because some are different sizes and you need to be able to slot them in next to other tables, so that has been an absolute nightmare. So if I was to do a values of miscellaneous items tables, expand it out to a huge list of things, which isn't necessarily needed, because look, I'm trusting you guys to improvise when it comes to this sort of thing. It is part of the inventive usage of the game, the role-playing side of it. If you decide to put a value on something, no one's going to blimmin' arrest you. It doesn't matter too much if it's slightly off or slightly expensive. You may roll on the merchant table and lose half the value. So it's your game. You don't have to apply all the rules. You play your game. Exactly. Steve's right. And listen, some people feel secure to play the vanilla version of the game, so they want those rules in, and some people are more confident with expanding out their rules selection. I experienced people like Daniel on Dungeon Dive or Deborah on Geek Gamers. They'll throw rules in from other games that they know and have learned because they're experts. And there's no reason why you can't ad-lib a little bit, so don't worry too much about it. Not numbering the first thing seems fairly common, as with movies, but there's no problem with putting a 1 there if you want. I knew that was what you were doing with the 1 on some tables. Yes, I did actually add that comment in there for you, Bob, because I thought you might be wondering about that. Okay, Brian says, tell me about it. Oh, James says, I'm not an expert, so I tend to like I tend to like the easier vote. Yeah, well, that's fine. Tell me about it. When I tried making my own version of an alphabet coders, it was a real pain to do. Yes, Brian, yes. Easier core rules with an option to increase difficulty. Yeah, vamp up. Yeah, you want like a knob you can turn up difficulty, don't you? So I had so this is probably the most complex table, and there's a good reason for it. You only reference it really when you're going up levels. It's the weapon maneuvers table 1. There were a couple of things that I had to sort of change. I haven't actually changed any of the names or anything like that. These are in capitals. I've kept them that way. There is some lowercase writing here to break it up so that they can break the visual scanning, if you like. So that's going on fine here. But this page did bring up the much discussed, and I want to cover this quickly, 2d6, 1d6, d6 scenario. So I have gone with the capital D for this game because it is sort of baked in to the name of the thing. So I wanted to go with the D. We were using lots of capitals. It's clearer when it stands out against other text. So that's the reason why I've gone with it. I like the design of it. Bob's, yeah, I'm aiming this at you, Bob. So I did have 1d6 before, and I found it got in the way. I found it was visually loaded, so I'd have like 1d6 plus 1. It would be there'd be a lot going on. And this is just my opinion, all right? Yeah, I know. And so D6 is random, says 1d6. I did originally write it as 1d6, but I looked at it, I just thought it was more cluttered. I tried to streamline it, and I've got so much information going on here, I just thought, D6, we're going with it. Yeah, it's true. That is true. There is definitely that. But we're sticking with that for the moment. Enough said. And if I wanted to change it, it would be a huge deal. Right. So, okay, good. Random tables. I separated this out because we're probably going to add more stuff into here. So we will definitely add more stuff into here. But so the generic tables will just stay the same. This is the random stuff. You've got the green bar down the side here. I'm a fan of capital D. Yay, Cody. I think that is why D is more common. Yeah, if you're doing the one in front, maybe, potentially. So, I've added these in here. These are all different names, so you're going to need to print these out. These are different. You have to print out all the tables really, because this is the core. Not much is going to change from this now. Even if I do updates, I shouldn't imagine that a lot of this is going to change now. Pretty sure I've slogged through it. It's been a labour of love. We've got loot tables, so we've got a specifically pink section here. JAA. Hey, how you doing? Hey, I love the game. Halfway through my first dungeon, I was wondering if you could play 2 characters. It's not really designed for that, to be honest. It's a great question. I haven't even played that through my head. I guess that there would be... Look, it's weighted for one character, for one player, for the solo player. So if you took 2 in, then you're likely to find there's not enough experience points or treasure. But having said that, we've got a new backer. Craig has pledged £10. Thank you, Craig. You probably could try. You'd have to rule it like what could you do? You could double the experience points or something like that on a kill for the 2 characters. But you may find it just too easy. You may have to sort of get the cards and throw in a random enemy, dish out a random enemy every time you could definitely work it to try and do that. I'd be certainly very interested for you to send me a lengthy email with your feedback about how it went if you did try. Toby@drgames.co.uk. Robert, how are you doing? Absolutely love the game and the design. Welcome in. And layout of the tables. Oh, excellent. I cannot tell you how pleased I am to hear you say that. My old eyes struggle with the dice though. Any chance of having the unique colours or some other identity? Right, well, it's funny you should say that. I have done something to help with that. Are you going to produce the PDF with the tables orientated readable? You have to explain that a bit more, Bob. Take a party of 4 and stomp the baddies, James says. Yeah. Jonathan says, when will the files for version 5 be uploaded to... They're actually uploaded already. They take a day or 2 to for the admin to pass them, if you like, to what do you call it? Give the go ahead, if you know what I mean. Wouldn't 2 characters would unbalance the game, Steve. You would have to kind of think about how you could change that. It's aimed at one player. I don't use Facebook. Jonathan, that is fine. That is fine. I don't use TikTok. Well, actually, that's not true. I do a little bit. I did. But I don't really look at TikTok. I was going to comment on the dice icons at some point. They can be tough to make out, especially in low light. Well, we'll come to that. Maybe pets or henchmen you could find. Now, this is something... Did you say that before? Has that pets or henchmen? Yeah, you said that before, didn't you, Scott? I didn't follow that one up. I put it down again. That is definitely something to think about. Oh, we've got another backer. Terrell for £6. Thank you. Welcome. Another backer on the Kickstarter. We're approaching the 40k. You are awesome, people. What have we got? Yes. Should be landscape. Tables in the PDF should be landscape pages, so text reads like text on portrait pages. Oh, you mean you want me to turn it? You want me to turn it in the PDF? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? Because this side reads vertical and this side reads horizontal when you go into the tables. Look, Bob, save that for a update. If you could just, yeah. I'll turn in the PDF. Right, I get you. Ooh. Blimey, I hadn't even thought about that. Okay, so because I'm always thinking people are printing out, but people are using tablets, aren't they? Okay. I'll have to have a look at that. Okay, good call. I will have a think about that one. I did it in my copies of the PDF. Okay. Right. I'm with you. Okay. I'll have a look at that. Oh, we've got another backer. Oh. Piotr, Piotr, has pledged £91. Thank you, my friend. Welcome to the Kickstarter. Does that push us over? PDF can have both portrait and landscape pages. The printer then knows how to handle it. Okay. Bob, that it isn't just my eyes, by the way. I go to Robert, but my considering changing to Bob. I love the way Toby says your name. Well, actually, it's a thanks for the update, Nick. Brilliant, very close. So, Bob is a reference to Blackadder. Okay, that's the why I say it that way. So there's an episode where Blackadder falls in love with a new manservant who is actually a beautiful woman in disguise, and her name is Bob. And the way Rowan Atkinson says Bob is always, it amuses me. So I've adopted it. If you haven't watched Blackadder, watch it. It's bloody amazing. Okay, so we've got loot tables. Again, I've expanded these out. Blackadder is great, James says. This seems to be valuables. So I've added all sorts of things in here. I've tried to increase the number of God interactions. I've nerfed some. I've buffed some. I've added some new content. There's more content here because I've put it. All this descriptive text is in lowercase, as has been requested, and it looks so much better. I don't know why I didn't do it in the first place. I love Blackadder. You need a Baldric henchman. Yeah, absolutely. Brings his own turnips. So, yep, expanded this out. Religious pouches. Rubbish piles, religious artifacts. Okay, and there. So all the loot is in that same section. I have a cunning plan, my lord. Indeed, Baldric's cunning plans. Stuff of legends. So they're all in that section there. You can flip through that. Searching pouches. You know where to go. That is the spot. Yeah. And then we've got level 1 tables. So we've got let's just go through it. So each level is going to have its own level tables. All right, that's how we're going to do this. So you're going to have, you can see here, this is the kind of the thickness of the levels here. So you're going to have a level 2, level 3, level 4, and it's going to be that. Now these are single-sided, so it's going to be double-sided naturally. And you'll open it out like that. You have 2 tables you can read, and each one's going to have this in their level section. Okay, so this is what a level includes. You've got your encounter prisoner table. So on each level, there will be a special table for the types of prisoner you could encounter. It may mean that at lower levels, there's less chance of finding prisoners alive. Think about it. You know, or they'll be in a worse condition, or things will have happened to them. So, you know, in the infernal level, the monks there, who knows what they've done to their prisoners? So you need a prisoner table for each level. Moldova needs turnips as a favourite item. Yes. Oh, that is a. I like that. I like that. I've written that down. TJ, will items have... welcome, TJ. Will items have a sale price if you just want to get rid of them and sell them instead of trying to figure out how to use all items? Well, okay, there's a couple of points there, TJ. Not all items you're going to be able to use. You're going to find stuff in a dungeon which is just junk, and you're not going to be able to use it unless a certain circumstance arrives. And you may think, oh, it's not worth keep, I'll sell it. In which case, you go to the values of miscellaneous items table here. Now that lists things like rope, leather straps, needles and thread, strong glue, metal plates, rations, grappling hooks, pouches, books. I guess there's a rough general sort of item, and they'll have a volume, a size, and you can base the value of that item on the miscellaneous items, roughly speaking. You've got to use your imagination. It doesn't really matter. It's your game. If you say something's worth 1 gold and you want to sell it for 1 gold, you sell it. Okay, just don't go silly, because otherwise you break the integrity of your game, and you'll, after a couple of levels, you'll think, oh, how have I got to this point? You know, and I'm doing it so easily, you know. So don't sell like some leather straps for 200 gold. It's basically what I'm saying. Just apply common sense, and you can make that judgment yourself. Because there's no way I'm going to have a table that lists every single item and their value. You just got to try and judge. Well, rule states sell. That's the gems, the armor, potions and scrolls. You sell at 50%. Everything else, gems of full value, and then the other items are just what they're worth, which isn't a lot usually. And then you roll on the merchant table, and you have an interaction with the merchant. Was reading earlier level XP ratios. I passed level 1 with a level 2 hero, 140 XP, perhaps because I rolled many warriors and it isn't... Hang on a sec. I was reading earlier level experience ratios. Okay. I passed level 1 with a level 2 hero, yes. 140 XP, perhaps because I rolled many warriors. Yeah, well, I see what you're saying, and it isn't too common. Well, you can get warriors, anacondas, you can get apothecaries. There are a range of quite powerful creatures for that level that will enable you to level up a bit more quickly. It's just luck of the roll. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that 70 XP was a bit unusual. I don't hear that very often, but you know, I guess if the first level is 100 XP and someone just falls short of it, which is really kind of nearly what that is, then it's almost the right balance. It would be worse if people said to me once they'd done level 1 that everybody was 200 XP. I'm glad in a sense not necessarily for their gameplay experience, but that someone has said 70 XP, because that shows actually there is a lower spectrum, so you can kind of land in the middle, and you get the extremes and the lows, and then hopefully most people land in the middle. That is the theory. Right, good. Okay, so we're looking at the level tables here. So each one's going to have a prisoner encounter table. Each one's going to have exit types. On the exit types table for that level, you're going to have things like locked doors, or like, for example, you go into the crypt, there's going to be stone slab doors. Okay. On other levels, there's going to be ethereal doors, or kind of passageways that look magical. You know, I'm going to have to think of the language, but there's going to be different types of doorways as you move up. So those will be included in the table. At the beginning, there may well be some kind of reference section for that level tables for the exits, or they'll just be put into the main rules. Patrick says, I don't know if I missed it. Can you gain over your max HP with healing items? Good question. It does outline it in the rules. So there are, if we go to the generic tables here and look up magic potions. Here we are. You have extra healing, heal up to 30 health points. Further healing, gain 20 health points, can exceed baseline level. 10 health points, gain health. So yes, the answer is yes, you can. But when you heal up to your max, if ever you're asked to do that, you heal up to your baseline. So if you're over that, you don't gain any health points. Health points. Bob comes in with, I had 16 creatures and hit 179 XP on my first play test 20 by 20 map. See, there you go. That is a brilliant example. James says, I think my first play ended with just under 100 XP, high 90s, I think it was. Well, that's fine. Jean, I think, is that Jan or John? I don't know whether that's how you say it. All right. Time for bad, because tomorrow is work. Time for bed. It was a pleasure to listen to you. Until next time, I wish you a lovely rest of the eve and be a good sir. Thank you. Cheers from Slovenia. Well, pleasure to have you here, John. And thank you for your questions. And don't worry about, the English thing. It's not a problem. I struggle anyway if it's just normal English. So what does it matter? It doesn't matter. I've just played through with 140 plus and a playthrough with just 30. Averages out 85 to 100, I feel. Good. Yes. Right, so magic potions. Right, so yes, you can go above your baseline, just so you know. Right, let's get back to this because I want to cover this. Exit type tables. So here, probably one of the most dense tables in the thing. It's just, I think it's just about acceptable reading. So what I've done is I've increased the size of the dice on the left. All right, we're talking about dice issues. So they are now bigger. Okay. Looking at the text, I still find it very readable. I might increase the width, which might make it more readable. So that may be something I do in later editions. Perilingi. I think I said that right. How you doing, my friend? Welcome. James, yeah, we understood. Your English was fine, Jan. Don't worry about it. Welcome, Pierluigi. Page 13, dice are small, however. Let's have a look. That could be just something I missed. Page 13. Oh, yes. Yes, yes. Nothing we can do about that page, I'm afraid. You only have to access it once. Yeah, you're right. I do need to think about that. The maneuvers. The maneuvers. Maybe what I could do is, in brackets, after it, put 1, 2. Yes, that's the idea. See? You throw these things out. Weapon maneuvers. I'm going to make a note of this. Weapon maneuvers, numbers in brackets. Okay. After dice. It looks like there's space in all of it as well. This could be good. Thank you. It adjusts as you level, so you may need to access multiple times. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, once per session maybe. But there, it looks like there's space for me to put brackets and 1, 2 where the dice is to kind of. I think that'll work. Good. Numbers in brackets. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, but those dice are bigger. You'll be glad to know. Would it be terrible for layout if you moved some of the tables to a new page? Is there not a symbol with a square and a number within instead of a dice face? Brian, that is a good question. I know. I was umming and ahhing about doing that. Part of the reason why I didn't was because when we see a number on a page, we automatically assume that it's part of a list. So if we saw, like, I know that would make sense if I just had numerically listed dice numbers, yes. But in a maneuver table, what I perceived was a very confusing set of numbers just along the side, just listed down. But when you look at dice, you kind of see them as dice and understand them as that. Whereas if you view them at numbers, they could be any reference. And now you could put it in a square, but I don't know whether that would be enough, distinguish it enough to make it seem like it's a dice combination. So that was my thinking, and as I think about it more, that seems to be how it feels. For the moment, it's the dice. Page 6 armor table is small as well. Yes, no, that is a good point. Yeah, Robert says, I like the dice in the tables. I just don't like having old eyes. Yeah, no, I'm my eyes are. My wife's having to wear glasses for her eyes now, and I kind of feel like I'm getting to that stage. I'm just about lasting. I don't know how my eyes haven't completely deteriorated, all the small things that I look at and draw. Okay, anyway, we digress. It would be confusing to split a table onto 2 pages. I know, it's tricky. So I see the maneuvers, Bob says, I see the maneuvers are still classified as level 1, 2, 3. Yes. No, I know, Bob. I know. But the other suggestion, the tier, I didn't like that, the feel of that. It's not uncommon to have used level 1, 2, and 3 for a number of things in games, really. You're right about the confusion. I'll have a think about that. Would it be possible to have 2 dice in the book be different colours, since they will be in real life? Now, that is a very good point. That is definitely something else that someone else suggested as well, which I thought about doing, and then I looked at it and I thought, if I have, say, a dark red die with white dots, is that then not harder to read for colourblind people if the dots are white? So the black dots in the white background just looks like the easiest thing to read. Maybe if it's black dots with black with white dots, maybe that would be good. But even then, I still think the black dots in the white is the easiest one to read. It's a bit of a conundrum. That's a good point. Brian, I like your thinking. Breaking the maneuver table into 3. That is a good idea. Brownie point goes to Brian. Excellent. I like that idea. I'm going to have a look at that and see what I think. Oh! Bob comes in with an incisive comment. I like seeing all 3 weapons together to compare. That's a really valid point. Oh my word. That is very good. Very good, Bob. Bob, that is a good idea. Like a light grey. Yeah, Brian said that. What I was trying to say. Haha, nice. Okay, Patrick, cool. Yes, game design is fun. I love all this stuff. I'm lucky. I'm so lucky to do it full time. Yeah. Maybe a light grey. Maybe a light grey could just give enough definition to the dice. See, the beard stroking comes in on that one. Right, so oh, I just knocked my camera, I think. Right. Okay, good. So we've also the interruptions. I've added in some new interruptions. I've taken out an empty room, so there's less chance of an empty room. That's on the next one. I've added in some God-related stuff, some other bits and pieces, some stuff to help with the quests that are in the game. Yeah. Steve says, Toby, you can't please all the people all the time. And that is very true. One thing I can be, Steve, is nice about not pleasing all the people all the time. Look, one thing that's pretty clear to me is that all these suggestions, people are clever and sensible, and they're like, they're throwing it out there because they can see I don't mind reading these things, and I don't. And, I'm not going to be able to implement all these things. And look, in fact, all these wonderful people here that have contributed through playtesting, all their suggestions haven't gone into this book. It's probably 50, 60%. And those are just kind of like minor tweaks. So, there are some things people are asking for, but there just isn't going to work because I've got a longer picture. I can see the long game. And, I'm trying to. So if you suggest them to me and you've gone through this new rule set and it's not there, don't be disappointed. There will be a reason why. I try and consider everything. I try and think about everything, and that I can handle that. You guys see, I'm not offended. I think most of you realise you can't implement. Most of us realise you can't implement every suggestion. We're just trying to help improve the game. Exactly. Random question: is that World of Warcraft Cataclysm mousepad under your paper? It is a dragon. It's not World of Warcraft, I don't think. It's basically. I was looking for a larger gaming mat because I'm a big gamer, and I needed something that would cover more of an area, and then I thought, something that might be good backdrop. I'm about to print the rules and tables as booklets. Keep getting them getting drawing error. Has anyone else been able to print 0.5 as a booklet yet? Well, they're just PDFs, saved in the same way as the other ones. Can't imagine why they're Christopher. I can't imagine why there would be a problem with that. That is a pain. Sorry about that. Well, look, if it continues to be a problem, maybe I'll look at resaving it or something, or let me know if you solve that problem. That is definitely Deathwing. Okay. I don't play World of Warcraft. I used to play EverQuest, which kind of was sort of parallel to World of Warcraft, wasn't it? Towards the beginning of World of Warcraft. Printing as we speak, no problems so far, Steve said. Sure thing, will do. Have only had a brief look at 0.5, let alone try to print it, lol. Brian says, yeah. Well, look, what I want you to know is this is pretty much good now. All the responses, there's a couple of little errors as we spotted, maybe a few tweaks. But if you print this now, you shouldn't really have to reprint too much of it. So that's where we're at with this particular set. So I would say this is a good time to print. Can you go to rooms table? Uh-oh. Don't like the sound of this. Right, so here we go. We are going to the rooms. So yes, here we go. The most important space in the you'll be accessing level 1. Oh, this is level 1 large rooms. So we've got names for these, and we've got door types. Oh, we haven't done. Door types are going in there, okay. There's space. We've got unique, yes. We've got names for these, okay. Yeah, I'll get to there in a sec, Bob. And we've got descriptions. There's a bit more narrative. There's more options. There's more use. There's a certain uniqueness, and so better. And you could look. There are more things in these rooms to draw in your large spaces as well. That was another thing I was considering. So we're going to, here we go. Level 1, human ancestry, the entry. That is the level. It's known as the entry. So we've got. All right, so the dice are bigger for a start down the bottom there. All the text is in, descriptive text is in lowercase for easier reading. And I fleshed some of it out and add a bit more detail. So when you reread some of these things, they'll be different than what they were before. So that's nice as well. Random is just the exits table on the, it's just the exits table for that level. So exit type table. So just roll on that. I think it does say in the rules. It just doesn't call it necessarily exit type table. It says roll on the exit table for that level. I guess they might assume. Yeah, okay. Might assume. Choose. Okay. Table. Good call. I'll look into that. That's. Well, maybe I'll add a little sentence in the rule later. All right. So random. You just roll on the random table for the exits. We've got. Yeah, as I say, I've fleshed it out, and then we've got the last one here. We've got small rooms, 6 squares or smaller, and I've changed that in the actual description in the rules. Steve, great stuff, Toby. Keep up the struggle. It's looking excellent. Going to get some food now. Stay safe, all. See you in the dungeon. 39,925. So close. Yes. We are close, guys. Thank you. Right, so that really does conclude our look at the Tables Codex. It's largely there. So level 2 is going to go in. The version, this will become known as the free version, where it will be downloadable and everybody can play it. But when do you think this will go to printing? Well, that is a good question. So I hope to have it all written by the end of April, and then we will then print before then or at that point. So not long. Part of this last couple of weeks where I've been cementing these, the Tables Codex, is I'm in a position where I've also been thinking about what is required for each level. How much work do I need to do? And I think I've got it to a good level where it creates a good content and enough randomness and excitement. So each level is going to be, 5 or 6, maybe. How many have we got here? 1, 2. So the interruptions and unexpected table is going to be shared between 2 levels. So 1 and 2 will use the same interrupt table. 3 and 4 use the same interrupt table. 5 and 6 use the same interrupt table because those levels are similar. And they'll obviously have their own room descriptions. And some unique tables potentially. Maybe some magic related tables. As we go deeper into the dungeon, there's going to be more magic. So yeah, I'm projecting. I can work very quickly. I'm lucky like that. I'm an experienced writer and an experienced designer, so I can generally chug it out quickly. The reason why this week has taken a while is because I have had to really think about the structure. It hasn't been about the creative process so much. It's been more about my kind of graphical mind and trying to organise things properly, taking on ideas and listening to Bob explain all of his points. Thanks, Bob. Right. Nick, page 13 in the core rule states random roll on exits table. However, the note is not very prominent. I did put it in. Yeah. So it is there. Maybe that needs to be more prominent. Is a play session supposed to be a level? That is a good question. Well, it varies. Depends how big you do the level. If you do a 20 by 20, you can do it in an hour. If you do a 30 by 30, in maybe 2 hours. And it also depends on how many fights you get. So there is a varying thing. I want it so you could, if once you get all 10 levels, it's like a campaign, isn't it? It's like so it's going to take you maybe to do all 10 levels. You're probably looking maybe at 10 sessions. So we'll see. That's going to be something that we work out. Is a play session supposed to be? It can be half a level, so that's how I kind of look at it. Under 7 of generating dungeon rooms section. Yes. Bart Cheese 89 says, how detailed a level must be. Well, it does depend on your style as well. Some people really get into the role play. Some people are quite happy to do it quite statistically, so they'll go through the stats and make that work. I think that's one of the fascinating things about this. It's a kind of like a side effect of the game rules, is seeing people's play styles and how that affects how the game works. So, Bar Cheese, you're going to have to tell me how long it takes to do a level. So I'll be interested to know that. How do you plan on handling quests that require going back to a higher dungeon level, the rules about going upstairs are missing. Yes, the rules about upstairs and downstairs aren't in yet. Good spot, Bob. They will be. But quests can be incomplete. You may never fulfill a quest. They're not dependent on success, those quests. If you get to the point where you realise I'm never going to meet this guard, then you just cross it off. You don't necessarily lose any XP. I would say that because it's a human ancestry dungeon, there's a good chance you might meet a guard still further down in the dungeon. It just might be 3 of them. So there's still a chance. There will still be chance of expanding out those quests. But yes, certain truth to that. But that's going to be with playtesting. We're going to see how that works. Do you think this game will get adventure outdoor system like D100 has? Yes, TJ. We've been talking about. There is going to. We have mentioned it, but there is going to be an Overland expansion. The thing is, we're probably going to we're going to get the dungeon nailed first. There's the at the town section where people are, where you've got a little bit of interaction out of town. But the outdoors, the Overland expansion is going to be tied in with you as an adventurer owning your own property and expanding out your kingdom, if you like, your barony. So it's not just going to be about travelling outside. You're going to have vested interests, because that's how I feel it would be. If you're an adventurer and you ventured over land, or you went to the dungeon and you got rich, you'd want to build like a castle or do stuff like that. So that's going to be incorporated into those rules. But I predict that those will be next year, my friend. Seeing this hasn't even come out yet. But we do have... So we're going to have... There are going to be other expansions that deal with other dungeon ancestries. So it may be like there's... And don't hold me to this, but there may be a goblin ancestry dungeon, say, for example. Or just a generic monster ancestry dungeon, which is a bit rougher. Now, there is the Lairs expansion. And I'm working on additional rules for the lairs, which affect the way the dungeon is generated. Those rules, though, are a bit of a surprise, and they will be coming soon. So there's going to be different things, different dungeons and stuff like that. So, but they're definitely. I'm excited about creating the Overland rules. There will be that is coming, but we want to try and. So we've got the core rules. We're going to have another ancestry appear probably later in the year. And then the Overland expansion, but we're also going to have like a little sort of mini expansion. So we're going to have maybe some new weapon choices, maybe some magic options thrown in, maybe different sort of some different character traits. There are lots of ideas buzzing around, and people have been suggesting stuff, and I've been like, yes, I'd like to do that one. So it's exciting. We'll get this one. We'll get the core dungeon nailed first, and then there's loads of them. And I was saying at the beginning that because the success of the campaign has facilitated this. If this hadn't been hugely successful, I probably would have thought to myself, well, I'm not going to spend the time, and it's a lot of time, making rules for an Overland if people aren't that interested in the core game. So yeah, because of what's happened, yes, we will definitely get those. Level 3 got a so I was giving my question a context. I need to understand that chat isn't real time. Okay. Bob, for example, level 3, I got a Holy Shroud, but the shrine is on level 1. And there will be other shrines, basically. There's going to be lots of shrines and stuff like that. It may be that there's slight tweaks to, it may be that in the inventive uses I put, that similar things are acceptable to complete quests. We'll see. Clive says, maybe you could build a group, by playing each level with a different character, warrior, dwarf, elf, magician, etc. Then in the future you could adapt the game for groups rather than single characters. Well, you may have noticed that I haven't actually given a race to the adventurer. Oh, Ryan has just pledged £6 to the Kickstarter. Thank you, Ryan. I want to kind of leave it open. I don't want to use the races thing so much. It's more sort of ancestries. I don't want to go down that traditional fighter magician type route. I'm viewing these adventurers as people that are kind of complex and flexible. They have some magic, they have some fighting, and they're an all-rounder, you know. And that's kind of how I see it. And that is sort of different from a lot of games that go quite stereotypical. I'm trying not to be too stereotypical, if you see what I mean. But I do like the thought of a party as an option, but this is really a solo play. This is about that one adventurer who is, you know, it takes me back to being that 12-year-old boy reading fighting fantasy, exploring the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, and having a right knees up as a solo player. You know, I'm kind of recreating that. Will these potential future expansions be available as printed books or only digital? They will definitely be available as printed, James. And there's a very good chance that there will be another Kickstarter to we'll probably kickstart the updates, I should imagine. So that's in the future. I mean, we haven't finished this one yet, so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Bob says, question about town. If I complete level 1 without needing to exit midway, do I still need to search for a ventilation? No. You'll just go down to the next level. You don't have to do any. You don't have to leave if you're fine. You just carry on to the next level. It's just that you may feel, as you can, as an option, go back. You could go and get some money, sell some stuff, rest, heal all your points back up. If, you know, it's at no expense. It's sort of built in to make it easier, and kind of like a way of spending. We like to spend our treasure, don't we? And this is a good way of being able to do that. If I complete level 1 without needing to exit midway, but I still need to search. Yeah. Yes. You do. You still need to search for a shaft. Is there some mechanic I'm missing that penalises backtracking? You can't backtrack to another level. That simple. You can backtrack in your rooms a bit. Now, that is one thing. I had a great suggestion from a nice lady, and she suggested a mechanic where you do a bit of calculating about backtracking, and I haven't put that into this current range of rules. I'm still thinking about it. The backtracking is a thing. It is something that is an area that needs probably to be looked at. Bob, I don't think I'm understanding what you mean, but you know, put it in an email to me. You know, I guess that entry collapses after you go into the dungeon. Oh, I see. Right. Oh, yeah, you can only go back to the town once in a level. Yeah, as James says, that you lose that entrance. You know, they fix it up or move it, or it gets lost up the other end. You know. Yeah, you do your stairs going down. Yeah. Okay. Right. Whew. Well, what can I say? You've all been amazing. This is, again, some great points. It has been a brilliant feedback session. You're all great. If I've missed your names off the front for acknowledgements, please let me know. If I haven't put your name on the list. Some people, if you've sent me feedback, these are the people that have sent me feedback. I may have missed some. Just let me know if I've done that. Trying to think, was there anything I've forgotten? No. Thanks for the support on the Kickstarter. Don't forget, if you can put some comments or suggestions, or just spread the word, that would be awesome. Otherwise, I have a plan to have level 2 ready for Friday. So that's the projection. I'm going to try and do a stream on Friday, and if that doesn't work, it'll be on Saturday. It may well be on Saturday evening. We'll see. It depends whether there's things going on. I've got my sister down with her kids for a couple of days because it's Easter holidays here, so things may get slightly caught up. But I plan to do a special stream for exploring level 2 at the end of the week. Guys, thanks again. You have been fantastic. I love all the comments. Don't stop giving them. And get your new rules. Have a good read, and we'll push on. Good stuff. Okay, guys. Thanks again. And it's a bit of an awkward end. I have to sort of lean across here because my computer's over this side. But guys, you take care, and I will see you very